Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 21, and verse number 18. And it says, of all the devotees, this Govardhan hill is the best. Of my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram along with their calves, cows, and cowherd friends with all kinds of necessities: water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respect to the Lord, being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balarama. Govardhana Hill appears very jubilant. Purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 1834. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the opulence of Govardhana Hill as follows. Paniya refers to the fragrant, cool water from the Govardhana waterfalls, which Krishna and Balaram drink and use to wash their feet and mouths. Govardhana also offers other beverages such as honey, mango juice, and pilu juice. Suyavasa indicates dhruva grass, used to make the religious offerings of arghya. Govardhana also has grass that is fragrant, soft, and conducive to the strong growth of cows and increased production of milk. Thus, this grass is used for feeding the transcendental herds. Kandara refers to the caves where Krishna, Balarama, and their friends play, sit, and lie down. These caves give pleasure where the weather is too hot or too cold, or when it is raining. Govardhana also features soft roots for eating, jewels for ornamenting the body, flat places for sitting, and lamps and mirrors in the form of smooth stones, glistening water, and other natural substances. Text number 19. My dear friends, as Krishna and Balaram pass through the forest with their cowherd friends, leading their cows, they carry ropes to bind the cows' rear legs at the time of milking. When Lord Krishna plays on his flute, the sweet music causes the moving living entities to become stunned and the non-moving trees to tremble with ecstasy. These things are certainly very wonderful. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Krishna and Balaram would sometimes wear their cow herding ropes on their heads and sometimes carry them on their shoulders. And thus they were beautifully decorated with all the equipment of cowherd boys. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the ropes of Krishna and Balaram are made of yellow cloth and have clusters of pearls at both ends. Sometimes they wear these ropes around their turbans, and the ropes thus become wonderful decoration. Text 20. Thus narrating to one another the playful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he wandered about in the Vrindavana forest, the gopis became fully absorbed in thoughts of him. In this regard, Srila Prabhupada comments, this is the perfect example of Krishna consciousness, to somehow or other remain always engrossed in thoughts of Krishna. The vivid example is always present in the behavior of the gopis. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya declared that no one can worship the Supreme Lord by any method that is better than the method of the gopis. The gopis were not born in very high Brahmana or Kshatriya families. They were born in the families of Vaishyas and not in big mercantile communities, but in the families of cowherd men. They were not very well educated, although they heard all sorts of knowledge from the Brahmanas, the authorities of the Vedic knowledge. The gopis' only purpose was to remain always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 21st chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Gopis Glorify the Song of Krishna's Flutes. Now we'll go to chapter 22. Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. This chapter describes how the marriageable daughters of the cowherd men worship Katyayani to get Lord Sri Krishna as their husband, and how Krishna stole the garments of the young girls and gave the girls benedictions. During the month of Margasirsa, every day early in the morning, the young daughters of the cowherds would take one another's hands and, singing of Krishna's transcendental qualities, go to the Yamuna to bathe. Desiring to obtain Krishna as their husband, they would then worship the goddess Katyayani with incense, flowers, and other items. One day, the young gopi left. One day, the young gopis left their garments on the shore as usual and began playing in the water while chanting of Lord Krishna's activities. Suddenly, Krishna himself came there, took away all the garments, and climbed a nearby kadamba tree. Wanting to tease the gopis, Krishna said, I understand how fatigued you gopis are from your austerities. So please come on the shore and take back your clothes. The gopis then pretended to become angry and said, the cold water of the Yamuna was giving them great pain. If Krishna did not give them back their garments, they said, they would inform King Kamsa of all that had happened. But if he did give the cloths back, they would willingly carry out his orders in the mood of humble servants. Sri Krishna replied that he had no fear of King Kamsa, and that the girls really intended to follow his command and be his maidservants. They should each immediately come onto the shore and take their respective garments. The girls, trembling from the cold, climbed out of the water with their two hands covering their private parts. Krishna, who felt great affection for them, again spoke, because while executing a vow, you bathe in the water naked, you have committed an offense against the demigods. And to counteract it, you should offer obeisances with joined palm bombs. Then your vow of austerity will achieve its full results. The gopis followed this instruction and, folding their hands in respect, offered obeisances to Sri Krishna. Satisfied, he gave them back their clothing. But the young girls had become so attracted to him that they could not leave. Understanding their minds, Krishna said that he knew they had worshipped Katyayani to get him as their husband. Because they had offered their hearts to him, their desires would never again become tainted by the mood of materialistic enjoyment. Just as fried barley corn can no longer grow into shoots. Next autumn, he told them their most cherished desire would be fulfilled. Then the gopis, fully satisfied, returned to Braja, and Sri Krishna and his cowherd friends went off to a distant place where to graze the cows. Sometimes later, when the boys felt disturbed by the great heat of summer, they took shelter at the base of a tree that stood just like an umbrella. The Lord then said that the life of a tree is most excellent, for even while feeling pain, a tree continues to protect others from heat, rain, snow, and so on. With its leaves, flowers, fruits, shade, roots, bark, wood, fragrance, sap, ashes, pulp, and sprouts, a tree fulfills the desires of everyone. This kind of life is ideal, indeed, said Krishna. The perfection of life is to act with one's vital energy, wealth, intelligence, and the words for the benefit of all. Very good. Let me read that again. This kind of life is ideal, indeed, said Krishna. The perfection of life is to act with one's vital energy, wealth, intelligence, and words for the benefit of all. After the Lord had glorified the trees in this way, the entire company went to the Yamuna, where the cowherd boys let the cows drink the sweet water and also drank some themselves. Text number 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, during the first month of the winter season, the young unmarried girls of Goloka observed a vow of worshipping goddess Katyayani. For the entire month, they ate only unspiced khichdi. Whoa, that is very austere. Purport: the word Hemant refers to the month of Margasirsa, from from appropriately the middle of November to the middle of December, according to the Western calendar. In chapter 22 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada comments that the gopis first ate havisyana, a kind of food prepared by boiling together mung dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. Yeah, that's nice. So, in other words, let me read that again. In chapter 22 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada comments that the gopis first ate havisyana, a kind of food prepared by boiling together mung dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. Wow. Okay. Text 2 and 3. Second, please. My dear king, after they had bathed in the water of the Yamuna, just as the sun was rising, the gopis made an earthen deity of goddess Durga on the riverbank. They then worshipped her with such aromatic substances as sandalwood, along with other items both opulent and simple, including lamps, fruits, betel nuts, newly grown leaves, and fragrant garland and incense. Purport. The word balib bihi in this verse indicates offerings of clothing, ornaments, food, and so on. Text number 4. Each of the young unmarried girls performed her worship while chanting the following mantra: O goddess Katyayani, O great potency of the Lord, O possessor of great mystic power and mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaja my husband. I offer my obeisances unto you. In other words, O possessor of great mystic power and mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaja my husband. I offer my obeisances unto you. Purport. According to various acharyas, the goddess Durga mentioned in this verse is not the illusory energy of Krishna called Maya, but rather the internal potency of the Lord known as Yoga Maya. The distinction between the internal and external or illusory potency of the Lord is described in the Narada Pancharatra in the conversation between Shruti and Vidya. And it says, the Lord's inferior potency, known as Durga, is dedicated to his loving service. Being the Lord's potency, this inferior energy is non-different from him. There is another superior potency whose form is in the same spiritual level as that of God himself. Simply by scientifically understanding this supreme potency, one can immediately achieve the supreme soul of all souls, who is the Lord of all lords. There is no other process to achieve him. That supreme potency of the Lord is known as Gokuleshwari, the goddess of Gokula. Her nature is to be completely absorbed in the love of God. And through her, one can easily obtain the primeval God, the Lord of all that be. This internal potency of the Lord has a covering potency known as Mahamaya, who rules the material world. In fact, she bewilders the entire universe, and thus everyone within the universe falsely identifies himself with the material body. Now, that is a mistake. From the above, we can understand that the internal and external, or superior and inferior potencies of the Supreme Lord, are personified as Yogamaya and Mahamaya, respectfully. The name Durga is sometimes used to refer to the internal superior potency as stated in the Pancharatra. In all mantras used to worship Krishna, the presiding deity is known as Durga. Thus, in the transcendental sound vibrations, glorifying and worshiping the absolute truth, Krishna, the presiding deity of the particular mantra or hymn, is called Durga. The name Durga therefore refers also to that personality who functions as the internal potency of the Lord and who is thus on the platform of Suddha Sattva, pure transcendental existence. This internal potency is understood to be Krishna's sister, known also as Ekanamsa, Ekanamsa, or Subhadra. This is the Durga who was worshipped by the gopis in Vrindavan. Several acharyas have pointed out that ordinary people are sometimes bewildered and think that the name Mahamaya and Durga refer exclusively to the external potency of the Lord. Even if we accept hypothetically that the gopis were worshipping the external Maya, there is no fault on their part, since in their pastimes of loving Krishna, they were acting as ordinary members of society. Srila Prabhupada comments on this regard. The Vaishnavas generally do not worship any demigods. Srila Narottam Das Thakura has strictly forbidden all worship of the demigods for anyone who wants to advance in pure devotional service. Yet the gopis, who are beyond compare in their affection for Krishna, were seen to worship Durga. The worshippers of demigods also sometimes mention that the gopis also worship goddess Durga. But we must understand the purpose of the gopis. Generally, people worship goddess Durga for some material benedictions. Here, the gopis could adopt any means to satisfy or serve Krishna. That was the super excellence and characteristic of the gopis. They would, they worshipped goddess Durga completely for 1 month in order to have Krishna as their husband. Every day they prepared for Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaja, to become their husband. The conclusion is that a sincere devotee of Krishna will never imagine any material quality to exist in the transcendental gopis, who are the most exalted devotees of the Lord. The only motivation in all their activities was simply love and satisfy Krishna. And if we foolishly consider their activities to be mundane in any way, it will be impossible for us to understand Krishna consciousness. Whoa, a big warning right there. Text number 5. Thus, for an entire month, The girls carried out their vow and properly worshipped the goddess Bhadra Kali, fully absorbing their minds in Krishna and meditating upon the following thought. May the son of King Nanda become my husband. Wow. Text number 6. Each day they rose at dawn, calling out to one another by name. They all held hands and loudly sang the glories of Krishna while going to the Kalindi to take their bath. Text number 7. One day they came to the riverbank and putting aside their quibbling, as they had done before, happily played in the water while singing the glories of Krishna. According to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, this incident occurred on the day the young gopis completed their vow, which was a full moon day, to celebrate the successful completion of their vow. The gopis invited young Radharani, the daughter of Rishabhana, and the special object of their affection, along with other important gopis, and brought them all to the river to bathe. Their playing in the water was meant to serve as the Avabrita Snana, the ceremonial bath taken immediately upon the completion of a Vedic sacrifice. Srila Prabhupada comments as follows. It is an old system among Indian girls and women that when they take a bath in the water, they place their garments on the bank and dip into the water completely naked. The portion of the river where the girls and women bathed was strictly prohibited to any male, and this is still the system. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing the minds of the unmarried young gopis, awarded them their desired objective. They had prayed for Krishna to become their husband, and Krishna wanted to fulfill their desires. Text number 8. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Master of all masters of mystic yoga, was aware of what the gopis were doing, and thus he went there, surrounded by his young companions, to award the gopis the perfection of their endeavor. Purport. As the master of all masters of mystic power, Lord Krishna could easily understand the desires of the gopis, and he could also fulfill them. The gopis, like all young girls from respectable families, considered the embarrassment of appearing naked before a young boy to be worse than giving up their lives. Yet, Lord Krishna made them come out of the water and bow down to him. Although the bodily forms of the gopis were all fully developed, and although Krishna met them in a secluded place and brought them fully under his control, because the Lord is completely transcendental, there was not a trace of material desire in his mind. Lord Krishna is the ocean of transcendental bliss, and he wanted to share his bliss with the gopis on the spiritual platform. completely free of ordinary lust. Wow, that is wonderful. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the companions of Krishna mentioned here were mere toddlers, 2 or 3 years old. They were completely naked and were unaware of the difference between male and female. Then Krishna went out to herd the cows. They followed him because they were so attached to him that they could not bear to be without his association. Wow. Text number 9. Taking the girl's garments, he quickly climbed to the top of a kadamba tree. Then, as he laughed loudly, and his companions also laughed, he addressed the girls jokingly. Text 10. Lord Krishna said, "My dear girls, you may each come here as you wish and take back your garments. I am telling you the truth and am not joking with you, since I see you're fatigued from executing austere vows." Text 11. I have never before spoken a lie, and these boys know it. Therefore, O slender, wasted girls, please come forward, either one by one or all together, and pick out your clothes. Obviously, they're going to come naked to get their clothes. Text 12. Seeing how Krishna was joking with them, the gopis became fully immersed in love for him. And as they glanced at each other, they began to laugh and joke among themselves, even in their embarrassment. But still, they did not come out of the water. Purport. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura explains this verse as follows. The gopis were from most respectable families, and they might have argued with Krishna. Why don't you simply leave our clothes on the bank of the river and go away? Krishna might have replied, but there are so many of you that some of the girls might take the clothes belonging to another. The gopis would reply, we are honest and never steal anything. We never touch another's property. Then Krishna would say, if that is true, then simply come and get your clothes. What is the difficulty? When the gopis saw Krishna's determination, they were filled with loving ecstasy. Although embarrassed, they were overjoyed to receive such attention from Krishna. He was joking with them as if they were his wives or girlfriends, and the gopis' only desire was to achieve such a relationship with him. At the same time, they were embarrassed to be seen naked by him. But still, they could not help laughing at his joking words and even began to joke among themselves. One gopi urging another, go ahead, you go first, and let us see if Krishna plays any tricks on you. Then we will go later. Text 13. As Sri Govinda spoke to the gopis in this way, his joking words completely captivated their mind, submerged up their necks in the cold water. They began to shiver. Thus they addressed him as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur gives the following example of joking between Krishna and the gopis. Krishna, O bird-like girls. And Krishna is speaking now. O bird-like girls, if you do not come here, then with these garments caught on the branches, I will make a swing and a hammock. I need to lie down since I have spent the entire night awake and am now becoming sleepy. Gopis. Our dear cowherd boy, your cows, greedy for grass, have gone into a cave. So you must quickly go there to herd them back on the proper path. Krishna. Come now, my dear cowherd girls. You must quickly go from here to Braja and perform your household duties. Don't become a disturbance to your parents and other elders. Gopis, our dear Krishna, we will not go home for an entire month, for it is by the order of our parents and other elders that we are executing this vow of fasting, the Katyayani Vrata. Krishna, my dear austere ladies, I too, by the strength of seeing you, have now developed a surprising mood of detachment from family life. I wish to stay here for a month and execute the vow of dwelling in the clouds. And if you show mercy to me, I can come down from here and observe the vow of fasting in your company. The gopis were completely captivated by Krishna's joking word, but out of shyness, they submerged themselves in the water up to their necks, shaking from the cold. They addressed Krishna as follows. The gopis said, Dear Krishna, don't be unfair. We know that you are the respectable son of Nanda and that you are honored by everyone in Braja. You are also very dear to us. Please give us back our clothes. We are shivering in the cold water. Text 15. O Shamasundara, we are your maidservants and must do whatever you say. But give us back our clothing. You know what the religious principles are. And if you don't give us our clothes, we will have to tell the king. Please. Text 16. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, if you girls are actually my maidservants, and if you will really do what I say, then come here with your innocent smiles and let each girl pick up her clothes. If you don't do what I say, I won't give them back to you. And even if the king becomes angry, what can he do? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada comments, when the gopis saw that Krishna was strong and determined, they had no alternative but to abide by his order. Text 17. Then, shivering from the painful cold, all the young girls rose up out of the water, covering their pubic area with their hands. Purport. The gopis had assured Krishna that they were his eternal servants, and would do whatever he said. And thus they were now defeated by their own words. If they delayed any longer, they thought, some other man might come along, and this would be unbearable for them. The gopis loved Krishna so much that even in that awkward situation, their attachment to him was increasing more and more. And they were very eager to stay in his company. Thus, they did not even consider drowning themselves in the river because of the embarrassing situation. They concluded that they could do nothing but go forward to their beloved Krishna, putting aside their embarrassment. Thus, the gopis assured each other that there was no alternative and rose up out of the water to meet him. Text 18. When the Supreme Lord saw how the gopis were struck with embarrassment, he was satisfied by their pure, loving affection. Putting their clothes on his shoulder, the Lord smiled and spoke to them with affection. Srila Prabhupada comments, the gopis' simple presentation was so pure that Lord Krishna immediately became pleased with them. All the unmarried gopis who prayed to Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband were thus satisfied. A woman cannot be naked before any male except her husband. The unmarried gopis desired Krishna as their husband, and he fulfilled their desire in this way. For aristocratic girls like the gopis, standing naked before a young boy was worse than death. And yet they decided to give up everything for the pleasure of Lord Krishna. He wanted to see the power of their love for him, and he was completely satisfied by their unalloyed devotion. Text 19. Lord Krishna said, you girls bathe naked while executing your vow, and that is certainly an offense against the demigods. To counteract your sin, you should offer obeisances while placing your joint palms above your heads. Then you should take back your lower garments. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Krishna wanted to see the full surrender of the gopis, and thus he ordered them to offer obeisances with their palms joined above their heads. In other words, the gopis could no longer cover their bodies. We should not foolishly think that Lord Krishna is an ordinary lusty boy enjoying the naked beauty of the gopis. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. And he was acting to fulfill the loving desire of the young cowboy girls of Vrindavan. In this world, we would certainly become lusty in a situation like this. But to compare ourselves to God is a great offense. And because of this offense, we will not be able to understand Krishna's transcendental position. For we will wrongly take him to be materially conditioned like ourselves. To lose transcendental sight of Krishna is certainly a great disaster for one trying to relish the bliss of the absolute truth. Text 20. Thus the young girls of Vrindavan, considering what Lord Achyuta had told them, accepted that they had suffered a fall down from their vow by bathing naked in the river. But they still desired to successfully complete their vow. And since Lord Krishna is himself the ultimate result of all pious activities, they offered their obeisances to him to cleanse away all their sins. Purport. The transcendental position of Krishna consciousness is clearly described here. The gopis decided that it was better to renounce their so-called family tradition and traditional morality and simply surrender unto the Supreme Lord Krishna. This does not mean that the Krishna consciousness movement advocates immoral activities. In fact, the devotees of ISKCON practice the highest standard of restraint and morality. But at the same time, we recognize the transcendental position of Krishna. Lord Krishna is God, and therefore he has no material desire to enjoy young girls in sexual affairs. As will be seen in this chapter, Lord Krishna was not at all attracted by enjoying the gopis. Rather, he was attracted to their love and wanted to satisfy them. The greatest defense is to imitate the activities of Lord Krishna. In India, there's a group called the Prakrita Sahaja who imitate these affairs of Krishna and try to enjoy naked young girls in the name of worshiping Krishna. The ISKCON movement certainly rejects this mockery of religion, because the greatest offense is for a human being to ludicrously imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the ISKCON movement, there are no cheap incarnations, and it is not possible for a devotee of this movement to promote himself to the position of Krishna. 500 years ago, Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who practiced strict celibacy throughout his student life, and at the age of 24 took sannyasa, a lifelong vow of celibacy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rigidly avoided contact with women in order to carry out his vow of loving service to Krishna. When Krishna personally appeared 5,000 years ago, he established these wonderful pastimes which attract our attention. We should not become envious or shocked when we hear that God can perform such pastimes. Our shock is due to our ignorance, because if we tried to perform these activities, our bodies would be afflicted by lust. Lord Krishna, however, is the supreme absolute truth, and is therefore never disturbed by any material desire whatsoever. Thus, this incident, in which the gopis gave up normal standards of morality and raising their hands to their head, bowed down in compliance to Krishna's order, is an example of pure devotional surrender and not a discrepancy in religious principles. In fact, the gopis' surrender is the perfection of all religion, as Srila Prabhupada describes in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. The gopis were all simple souls, and whatever Krishna said, they took to be true. In order to be freed from the wrath of Varuna Deva, as well as to fulfill the desired end of their vows, and ultimately to please their worshipful Lord Krishna, they immediately abided by his order. Thus they became the greatest lovers of Krishna and his most obedient servitors. Nothing can compare to the Krishna consciousness of the gopis. Actually, the gopis did not care for Varuna or any other demigod. They only wanted to satisfy Krishna. Text 21. Seeing them bow down like that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Devaki, gave them back their garments feeling compassion towards them and satisfied by their act. Text 22. Although the gopis had been thoroughly cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls, and although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical toward Sri Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. Purport. Srila Prabhupada comments, this attitude of the gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he prays, my dear Lord Krishna, you may embrace me or trample me under your feet, or you may make me broken-hearted by never being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do, because you have completely freed, you have complete freedom to act. But in spite of all of your dealings, you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipable object. This is the attitude of the gopis toward Krishna. Text 23. The gopis were addicted to associating with their beloved Krishna, and thus they became captivated by him. Thus, even after putting their clothes on, they did not move. They simply remained where they were, shyly glancing at him. Purport. By association with their beloved Krishna, the gopis had become more attached to him than ever. Just as Krishna had stolen their clothes, he had also stolen their minds and their love. The gopis interpreted the whole incident as proof that Krishna was also attached to them. Otherwise, why would he have gone to the trouble of playing with them in this way? Because they thought that Krishna was now attached to them, they glanced at him with shyness, and being stunned by the rising of their ecstatic love, they could not move from where they stood. Krishna had overcome their shyness and forced them to come out of the water naked. But now, having dressed properly, they again became shy in his presence. In fact, this incident increased their humbleness before Krishna. They did not want Krishna to see them staring at him, but they cautiously took the opportunity to glance at the Lord. Text 24. The Supreme Lord understood the determination of the gopis in executing their strict vow. The Lord also knew that the girls desired to touch his lotus feet, and thus Lord Damodara, Krishna, spoke to them as follows. Text 25. Lord Krishna said, O saintly girls, I understand your real motive in this austerity. Has been to worship me. That intent of yours is approved of by me, and indeed it must come to pass. Purport. Just as Krishna is free of all impure desire, so are the gopis. Their attempt to gain Krishna as their husband was therefore motivated not by desire for personal sense gratification, but by their overwhelming desire to serve Krishna and to please him. Because of their intense love, the gopis did not see Krishna as God, but rather as the most wonderful boy in all creation, and being beautiful young girls, they desired only to please him by loving service. Lord Krishna understood the pure desire of the gopis and was thus satisfied. The Lord could certainly not be satisfied by ordinary lust, but he was moved by the intense loving devotion of the cowherd girls of Vrindavana. Text 26. The desire of those who fix their minds on me, meaning Krishna, does not lead to material desire for sense gratification. Just as barley corn is burned by the sun and then cooked, can no longer grow into new sprouts. Purport. The words Mai Avesita Diyam are very significant here. Unless one has achieved an advanced degree of devotion, one cannot fix the mind and intelligence on Krishna, since Krishna is pure spiritual existence. Self realization is a state not of desirelessness, but rather of purified desire, wherein one desires only the pleasure of Lord Krishna. The gopis were certainly attracted to Krishna in a mood of conjugal love, and yet, having fixed their minds, and indeed their entire existence completely on Krishna, their conjugal desire could never manifest as material lust. Rather, it became the most exalted form of love of God and ever seen within the universe. Text 27. Go now, girls, and return to Braja. Your desire is fulfilled, for in my company you will enjoy the coming months. After all, this was the purpose of your vow to worship Goddess Katyayana, O pure-hearted ones. Text 28. Sridhar Goswami said, thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the young girls, their desire now fulfilled, could bring themselves only with great difficulty to return to the village of Vraja, meditating all the while upon his lotus feet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The gopis' desire was fulfilled because Lord Krishna had agreed to act as their husband. A young girl can never spend the night with any man except her husband. And thus, when Krishna agreed to engage the girls during the maternal rasa and during the coming autumn season, in effect, he was agreeing to reciprocate their love for him in the role of a husband. Okay, my dear devotees, I think we'll stop right there. Canto 10, chapter 22, and verse 28. And tomorrow we'll pick up starting on text 29. So this is like very, very, very interesting pastimes of the gopis and Krishna, where a mundane person reading this would think that this is all about sex. Actually, that is because they have a corrupted mind because of movies and so many other mundane activities. But for devotees, none of this is mundane. It's all transcendental love between Krishna and gopis without any, let's say, without any whisper of sex or illicit sex. It's all about love and devotion. Now, this is very hard for people to understand because a person who's still, let's say, contaminated by mundane life might consider all these activities that are being done and that we're hearing is about mundane sex, but it is not. It's about the highest level of pure love and devotion to Krishna. So let's meditate on that today, knowing very well that the gopis' only desire was to please Krishna and agreed to act as their husband. A young girl can never spend a night with any man except her husband. And thus, when Krishna agreed to engage the girls in a nocturnal rasa dance, during the coming autumn season, in effect, he was agreeing to reciprocate their love for him in the role of a husband. That is our takeaway for today, and we should meditate on this. But understand there's not even a whisper of mundane sex involved in this relationship of the gopis with Krishna. But someone who is not educated, or someone who is still lusty and greedy, he might interpret some of this as mundane sex. But genuine devotees reading all of this become ecstatic because they're becoming purified by hearing the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna and the gopis. So thank you very much, my dear devotees. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Are there any questions or comments? Questions or comments?
Hey Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, my question is with the war going on in the Middle East, and I know a lot of devotees losing their jobs left and right and getting disturbed by these material laws. How do we stay transcendentally situated? Thank you. Can you explain? Thanks.
In the material world, there's always going to be ups and downs. Periods where everything seems to be very, let's say, fortunate, and other times when everything seems to be completely devastated. A devotee is not disturbed by the ups and downs of the material world. In all circumstances, they maintain their determination to follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, and especially chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. They know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They know that Krishna has his own plan. And therefore, the devotee will simply continue chanting Hare Krishna and following the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness and not be in any way intimidated by the difficulties of all the karmis who are engaged in all kinds of sinful activities. We should never doubt that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna has promised to his devotees, Konteya Pratishnani, Nana Bhakta Parasati, declared loudly, my dear devotees, that my devotees will never perish. So that's Krishna's pledge. He has clearly promised to protect his devotees. So we should just focus on that. There are going to be ups and downs in the material world, but because the devotee does not become scared, does not become confused, does not become discouraged in any way, knowing very well that the real purpose of life is to keep steadily engaging in devotional service. Just like today, or yesterday, or today, or tomorrow, we're going to have a festival. Now, the weather may be good, it may be bad. The situation may be good or bad, but we have full faith in Krishna, and we will have our festival and glorify Krishna by chanting Hare Krishna. So that is the real life of the devotee. The devotee never doubts the promise of Krishna that he will always protect his devotees. So with that uh, gold medal promise, we will continue chanting Hare Krishna, doing our festivals, whether it rains or shines, and whether there are many people that come or nobody that comes. We will continue doing what is necessary to worship Krishna. So thank you very much, my dear devotees. Don't be afraid of anything. Be rather overwhelmed by the mercy of Krishna, who is giving us a chance to chant Hare Krishna every day and engage in devotional service. As long as we continue the devotional service for Krishna, nothing will inhibit us from worshiping the Lord and being ecstatically engaged in serving the Lord with love and devotion. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.